Hello everyone, my name is Gizmo Crusher and welcome back to another Redstone video. Today I actually have a really good project in mind, kind of just a little bit of a break from the other two projects that I have. Today I want to build a game, just a single game. I plan on building a Connect 4 game. I have never done that before, so this is going to be completely new to me. Now everybody has seen the Connect 4 Redstone builds all over YouTube. It's not a new thing. I'm definitely not taking this and calling it original idea. It is something that I felt like doing because it was a unique Redstone project that I have never done before. And I think I have the idea about how they work. So hopefully this translates well to my imagination. Alright, so here is my idea. Here's my thinking. So we can start with putting a comparator at the bottom of this hopper here, actually facing the other way. And this would be the detector to tell us whether or not there's an item in this hopper. And I do believe this should also be what tells us whether or not it's a X or an O. And I think the best way to figure that out is using stackable and non-stackable items. Maybe? I don't know. I guess we'll see. We could have signal strength of 1 be an O and signal strength of 3 be an X. That could work, but I think this would have to be pushed forward a few more blocks. I don't think I could fit that kind of logic back here. We'll see. Alright, let's go on with this idea. As soon as this hopper has an item though, we do need to lock this hopper up here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab. That should work just fine. So now if I put an item down here, I'm just going to throw it in a random position. It locks, and now if I put another item in, it sits right there. Perfect. Alright, so this detection system seems to be a functional one. Let's try it out. Alright, so it locks the bottom one, and then it locks the next one. Perfect. So now we have two items that are being read from in these hoppers right here, which is perfect. Oh, the next thing I wanted to test is how this thing empties. If this circuit is built the way I think it's built, it should just work just fine. But as soon as I take out this bottom item, yep, the top one should fall right down into this hopper. It unlocks this top hopper and allows it to flow, which will kind of give us a really cool animation of all the X's and O's falling down to the bottom of the screen, kind of like the real game in real life when all the tokens fall out the bottom of the board. Alright, I'm going to try to build this pixel separately from the machine and see if I can get it to be a little bit more compact. I'm also building some adjacent so that I can see exactly how they're going to be tileable. Alright, so for the very first one, we want to have an O. Okay, so this will be our O. Well, actually, let's see. Will it look better if we had it like this? Yeah, I think that would look a little bit better. But now we got to see how it looks compared to this to see if it's too confusing. Yeah, that is a little bit confusing. So this is just kind of giving us a checkerboard pattern, and it's very, without borders, it's going to be very difficult for our minds to perceive exactly what is what. So I think the O's are going to have to be even the middle, the ninth block in the middle empty. Yes, I think this would work just as fine. Now the issue with me right now is figuring out how exactly I'm going to go from this to either this or this. And there's not a lot of space to do that logic, so this is going to be interesting. Right. So another idea just popped into mind, but it's going to increase the height and the length of this machine by a considerable amount. If we added borders in between the pixels, that would work. Like if each section of these 3 by 3 pixels, if each one of them were separated by a border, that would, 1, give us more space back here, and 2, be easier for us to tell which is an X and which is an O. Because repeatable patterns are going to happen on the screen, and it's going to look confusing. I can tell you that right now. With just 2 shapes, this screen is going to look confusing. My mind's made up. I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is also going to free up some space up back here and allow us to actually make the logic. Right, so this is already quite a ways back. from the display. I don't think this is going to be an effective design. I'm going to go back to the drawing board with using no pistons. We now have a lot more space to work with, so that idea might be more plausible. I think one of the best ways we can try to utilize our space, if we powered the corner with a repeater, that makes a good portion of the circle already. And if I did the same thing over here, we would have our circle. Easy as that. So if we power the 4 corners directly, we would have our circle. And instead of doing a nice X, we can try just powering the middle. Let's see how this looks. Power all these portions, cross and an O, or knots and crosses. Isn't that what the British call it? Knots and crosses? I don't know. Anyways, so that actually does not look too bad. Maybe we'll go with this design and see how it works. Okay, I think we have ourselves the right logic. So this would be signal strength of 1, signal strength of 3. Signal strength of 3 is overpowering the signal strength of 1, so the shape is also overpowering. We have all 3 states literally at the flick of a couple of levers. This is awesome. Alright, this is gonna work. Alright. Now I have enough confidence in the circuit that I'm actually going to build it again and see if it works, and then I'm gonna work on compressing it as much as I can. Okay. So let's put in, we have a non-stackable and we have a stackable. We have plenty of stackables. I don't need to grab a whole nother one. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in the non-stackable. We have an O, and throw in the stackable. And we failed. Something failed there. Yeah, so that was one thing I forgot about. Because of the heightened distance between the two of them, the circuit back here is not exactly the way it needs to be anymore. Right. That should do it. Now if I try this again. Let's try it this way. Let's do a stackable item. We have an X. And let's do a non-stackable item. We have an O. So we have ourselves a complete logic circuit back here for the XO. So I might have minimized the amount of redstone necessary to do the task. Let's throw in our stackable item. So we have our first play, and then our second play is going to be the circle. Awesome. That is awesome. So everything is functioning as it should in here. So I have completely tiled everything up to the top here, and I do believe I have the complete column. What I'm going to do now is try to set up a circuit on the top that needs to send the item. So if I press red, we should be receiving a circle. If I press blue, we should be receiving a cross. So let's try the blue. It is stuck on the top. Oh, because I'm an idiot and I forgot about my design change. Ignore that. Alright, so we have our cross down there at the bottom. I didn't mess with anything else besides the locking circuit on the back here. So let's go ahead and put in a circle. I'm going to go ahead and block him. There we go. It is doing a little funny animation. I'm not entirely sure how to rectify that, honestly. Yeah, no, I have no idea how to fix that. Honestly, I think that might just be a permanent part of this thing. Yeah. Whoops. Oh well, we can see what the tile is once it lands, and it still does give us a falling animation, which I think is nice. Now the part that I'm really interested in is when this thing empties, because that's always the most satisfying part. So as soon as I put a hopper down here, it's going to empty. Oh yeah. Okay. That's cool. Alright, so we have ourselves a functional column for this Connect 4 system. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this across by 6. So we'll have a 6x6 column. Change the top a little bit so it's tileable. And we'll go from there. This is fantastic though. I'm excited. There is our game board. Fantastic. I'm actually just going to throw a bunch of sprites on here and see what this display looks like. Do a bunch of crosses here. Let's do that there. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun to play with. I can already tell you. The last thing we need to tackle with this machine, and possibly the most complicated, is actually the wind detection circuit. Something tells me this is going to be fun. I went ahead and wrote down all the things that I wanted to change about this display. I didn't want to expand the size of it too much because it would require me to do more redstone, though I'm not, putting it completely off the list. The real Connect 4 board game is 7 wide and 6 tall, and this is a 6x6 board, but I do like how it is perfectly square. And I also noticed that during the gameplay that it was a lot more difficult for us to be able to gain wins. We were able to tie more frequently than we won. So this board makes it a bit more challenging, to be frankly honest, and I like it. Now this was the other thing I took a note of. I spent about 5 hours pulling my hair out trying to figure out exactly what to do for one of the main features for this game, which is wind detection whenever a player wins the game. At the moment, I am just missing one component, which is the second player's diagonal movements. So each player, there's 2 players for this game, each player has a completely mapped out section back here with all the potential possibilities for winning. And it's all intertwined into each other, but they're all separate. Every circuit in there is separate. This one obviously takes control of the diagonal wins. So whenever a person is successfully able to make a 4 in a row diagonal placement, then this machine back here will detect it. So all this area will pretty much recognize whenever a person wins the game. And I can go ahead and give an example of that. For the purposes of the fact that I have more of the green done than I do of the blue, I'm going to be using the second player because green is player 2. That's just the way that I color coded everything back there, so I apologize. It's a bit confusing. So we can go ahead and start with a pile up of 4, and we can recognize the win. So once we get to 3, right, we can get our 4th in, and we can wait until that lantern right there turns on. And there you go. And let's try doing a diagonal win. So let's start right here. Completely missed that one up. One more. And we should see ourselves a win. There we go. And it's quite quick at detecting whether or not there's a win on the board. So I actually am quite happy about that. Alrighty, so now it's been about a day since I started working on this machine, and I've added quite a few things, such as new button layout that's at the top here. So instead of there being 2 different buttons, there is just one, and just above that we actually have player indicator. So this is player 1, this is player 2. And just above that, we also have a score counter. A little bit excessive for those last 2 things, but I think it's something that ties this whole thing together really nicely. So, and now this is the complete circuit for the wind detection in the back. It is quite expansive. It was a lot larger than I initially intended for it to be, but I didn't really want to spend a whole week trying to figure out how to make this thing small. I honestly just wanted to build the logic, and I can focus on the rest of the niche features of this machine, such as this portion down here, which automatically will empty out this the tray. If anybody has played the legit Connect 4 game, there is a slidable tray at the bottom, and all the tokens will just slide and fall down the bottom. So this display kind of does that animation. I mean, it's a lot slower than real life, obviously, because that all happens in half a second. So every time the button is pressed, the turn will swap over to the adjacent person. So it is now player 1's turn, and player 1 can put their token wherever they want, and now it is player 2's turn, and they can put their token wherever they want. I'm just going to do a simple column of circles up here. I think that should suffice for the wind detection. You'll notice that as soon as this one falls into place, it will take just a second, and then all the tokens will start falling down the bottom. The last thing I have to do is connect these two 7-segment displays to separate counters, and each one needs to be hooked up to a different circuit, which is the exact reason why I have this thing laid out the way I do. We have player 1 and player 2. Very important that I made sure those things were separate. This yellow circuit right here is just the reset activation, so it will travel all the way down here. Now, in all technicality, this machine still has the capabilities of adapting to a machine learning device. I know that sounds uber nerdy and overly complicated for what it really is, but it's a name that I'm going to keep. It's going to be the machine that learns from the way that you play and plays with you, in a sense. If I'm understanding the logic correctly, it honestly should not be that difficult. It's just going to be very time consuming. And this is the last bit of redstone that I had to build. It is literally just a couple of counters for the display to indicate every single time a person wins and they get a point. All of the appropriate win detection for player 1 and player 2 has all been connected into those same lines. This yellow circuit we have here, just like down there, is a reset circuit, and that is for the display to be reset so all the points can be brought back down to 0. So now all I have to do with this machine is give it some decoration on the front, and we will be on our way to our final review. And that is going to be all. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please consider giving me a subscription so you can see more of these projects in the future. And if you want to give me support on this project, then why don't you give me a like on this video so that I know that I at least did a good job making this video. But anyways, thank you for joining this adventure with me, and I will see you guys in the next video.